Okay, Alan, thanks for your email, mate. But rather than type out a few sentences, I thought it would be better to just jump on the V1 and explain my answer in a little bit more detail, because your question is a common one. Is a common one amongst good players, and I'll show you what I mean. This is Larry who came to see me a few weeks ago, and he's it sounds like he's got a similar sort of issue with regards to what you have going on, right? So you can see he's got a beautiful golf swing, a lot of good things going on, but like you said in your email, how do I take the club back, as you say, backwards, inwards, and up? How do I know that I'm on track? And what are the feels, the keys, and the drills? Well, what you also said afterwards, you said, I felt for years that I play golf on too much of a straight line, but that straight line gives me a track to swing back and through on. Well, I agree. I mean, there's your track, right? So you're trying to swing the club down that track. The problem with that is that it's just too straight. Okay, and that's not how the swing works. The swing works by moving around on an arc, right? The club moves around on an arc, your hands move around on an arc, your body's turning around in a circle, right? So where you position the ball on this arc depends on how you attack the ball, right? How much you hit down on it, how much you hit from the inside, or how much you hit from the outside. So understanding that first and foremost. So the best way to do it is, and I do this with a lot of the good players that I work with, is just very simply get some sticks down on the ground. Okay. Now this one, let's call this the green one, and we'll call this the red one. Right, so the green one is the backswing. Right, so even though it's still a little straight, we're not particularly working on the backswing that much. What we were working on, because he turns it over. Right, his bad shot is the shot that drifts up. Like most good players, it's that overdraw, right, which ends up too much to the left, because you're swinging it fast and you're swinging it so straight that when you come down, if that club face just turns over just a degree or two, right, when you're swinging it 100 mile an hour, the ball's always going to finish left, right? So what we tend to do with good players is get them hitting out more with the club face more open. Okay. So what we were working a lot more on with Larry was trying to swing his hands and the club more post impact over that red line. Now you can see what that does. He's bringing the club out a lot lower, right, as opposed to his swing at the start, where even though it's not a million miles away, it's not a million miles away at all. But we're working, with good players, we're working on direction. How can we help the good players navigate the ball around the course? So we're generally working on path and face and matching up the path and face, right? His path is a little too straight and the club face turning over too much, right? There. So you can see there how that club face is not whipped over, but the club face is here as opposed to there. Do that again. As opposed to there. Right, so that toe hasn't turned over as much. Right, this one you can see how the shaft is up close to his left shoulder. Now because he's swinging more left post impact, the club's coming out a lot lower, a lot more like between his belt and his left shoulder, right, which is excellent. I mean, the more you can swing it low and left, the more you're going to cut out that overdraw, the more you're going to cut out that shot that finishes to the left. What you're generally going to find is it's going to go dead straight, or we're going to hit just a very slight little straight push, a 1 yard push. That's what we're after. That's what I tell the good players we're working towards, a 1 yard push, right? So the ball never kind of ends up left. We're never pulling it. So the ball's always maybe just a fraction back in the stance, half an inch further back in the stance. So we're hitting it just a little bit more on the inside, and our objective is to hit it just a little 1 yard push. All right. But I think what it sounds like, Alan, is you understanding how we want the swing to work, right? And the best way to do it would be, get a stick on the ground to illustrate where you want the ball to go, right? So there's our target up here in the distance. But we want a stick on the ground this way for the backswing, and we want to stick on the ground this way for the through swing. So we're swinging inwards on the backswing this way, and we're swinging inwards on the through swing, right? We're never trying to swing the club dead straight, right? Everything works in a circle, right, on an arc, and we catch the ball at the bottom of the arc, right, at the bottom of the circle. Everything's moving around. It's never moving up and straight through. Everything's moving around, and you can see that just by putting these sticks on the ground. You can see, number one, how it's totally changed the position of his backswing as well. This is what it looked like at the start of the lesson. So the club's across the line, right? His right arm's a little bit too sort of not disconnected, but a lot higher than what you see on the right side here, right? Just because we've got him feeling as though we're moving inward more on the backswing, and then it kind of connects his arms up a little bit better. You can see how that left arm now is more sort of in line with his shoulders, whereas here his left arm's a lot higher than his shoulders. So he's on a 2-plane swing at the start of the lesson, and just by swinging more inward, we've got him on a 1-plane swing where his left arm matches his shoulder plane. All right. Another good example would be Chris. So, similar sort of thing. As soon as we get him swinging more inward, it totally changes the look of his backswing. Let me try and pull up. I've lost his swings now. Yeah, I've lost his swing. But let's pull up Larry's new swing. So this is the guy in the blue shirt, Larry. This was his swing a few weeks ago, and this is his swing just a few days ago. So it's a couple of weeks in between his lessons, and you can see what we're working on. Was him. We're working on back, up and in, right? So the club's moving back on the backswing. It's moving inwards, right? So there's where we want to hit the ball. So inwards and up. So you can see we're working on getting that club head up higher, which then gets him into a really, really nice position at the top there, right? So you look at that position and compare him to where he was just a few weeks ago. I mean, it's night and day, right? So from the now the club head is behind his hands a little bit more at the top. He's kept his a lot better connection under that right arm, and I mean, talk about not flipping it. Look at how his right arm now is now moving inwards. Look how that right arm is now moving behind his body earlier, post impact. So again, club head's coming out nice and low here, right underneath. The litmus test is about there, right, coming just kind of through that left shoulder, right. Anything above it is bad, very, very bad. Anything underneath it is better, really good. Tour standard, really good tour standard about here, right. But like I say, anything above the left shoulder with the club coming out, bad, very, very bad. Club's going to flip over. Club, you're not going to be controlling the club face at all, right? And then what we're essentially trying to do with Larry, and this is just making him, getting him halfway. That feels halfway. That feels halfway to him. But what we're working on with regards to your question, Alan, is with regards to moving it back up and in. When you move it back up and in, you can then have the club head behind your hands, right? And then from that position, you're going to build up a little bit of pressure in your right trigger finger, right? And then the idea is to keep that there, right? Feel it at the top. And then you see, this is what I'm doing here, is I'm deliberately getting this club head laying down this way, right? Deliberately getting the club laying down this way to build up the pressure in that trigger finger. It's the first pad of your trigger finger, pressure point number 3, right? And then the idea is to keep that club head behind your hands, 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 behind your hands. And if you can feel that in a nutshell, and this is the reason why we want to try and swing it back up and in, because we want to keep the club head behind your hands, right? When you swing the club straight up, your hands are going to get too high, you're going to lose your connection, and you're going to swing it too straight. You're going to swing it too straight down this line. We want the club moving round on an arc. We want it moving round this way on the backswing and this way on the through swing. So the best way to do that, like I said, is get some sticks down on the ground, just for your, so as you're looking down, you want to move back over this line and move post impact over this line. And then on the backswing, if you can feel like that club head's behind your hands there, and then keep the club behind your hands, behind your hands, behind your hands, behind your hands, behind your hands. You're never going to flip it. You're never going to whip that club face over. Right? So there's, that's kind of, even at that position there, the club head's behind your hands. Right? Behind your hands. And then if you can increase that pressure, right, by letting this club head lay down, right, you're increasing that pressure in that first trigger finger. Then you can keep the club head behind your hands. Look at that drill he's practicing there. That's good. That's really good. And you can see, look at what he does to the club face. The club face is never whipping over, so you're not even gonna ever feel that club face is whipping over. Therefore, you're never gonna feel like the ball's ever gonna kind of curve left or over curve left, should I say? Right, that's the pattern. Right, we want to hit a straight shot, but it's a straight shot which is slightly to the right, a slight push, a 1 yard push. That's what we're after, right? Yes, if you move the ball position back, have the face a little closed at the start, you can set it off a bit to the right, and then with the face closed, it's going to curve back to the target. with these good players, right, we want to hit something resembling a straight shot, but we want to control the straight shot, right? We never want to hit one over there, one hole, and then a straight shot over there, the next hole, right? That's a two-way miss. So with the good players, what we're working on is working on a straight shot, pretty much a straight shot, a tiny bit of curve, we don't mind, but it's within a cone, okay? It's within a shot cone, okay? And that shot cone is to the right. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to hit a shot which is maybe just a slight little push out there. That's what we're trying to do. Okay, so that's why we move it back up and in. That's why we want to keep the club head behind our hands, because it's then going to help us understand this lag pressure. It's going to help us control the club face. Now, as a just to give you an example, if I stop Larry about there, right? Now this feels ridiculous to him, because don't forget, a few weeks before, he's used to having the club there. He's used to having the club this side of his hand. So look where the club's pointing. Now he's got the club pointing over here, right? So he feels like it's very laid off, but he's also starting to feel this pressure in his trigger finger, right? So if we compare that to Sergio, who's finally won a major, right? And then look at where he's coming down, right? Now we're starting to understand what we're trying to do, right? Club head's behind his hands. It's always behind his hands. And then he's feeling as though it's behind his hands all the way down through the shot. So you look at where he's there, and then you look at this drill that we've got Larry doing, and then what he ends up doing by himself at the end there. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good to me. It's pretty good. Look at how this elbow just fits just in front of his right hip, right? So yeah, the club head's a little bit too behind his hands there, but that's exaggerating it. Obviously, it's always, if you want to make a change, you have to exaggerate the change. You always have to exaggerate the change. Okay. All right, Alan. So I hope that helps, mate. Have any other questions? By all means, just jump on an email, and I'll get back to you. Cheers.